what I do is I try to determine where it stems from. And it's usually from either a place of me not feeling like I'm good enough, or feeling inadequate in any sort. Oh, I'm not beautiful enough. Oh, I don't sing this good. Oh, I'm not as good as the person who was singing here before. Or, oh, people don't like me. I think I try to identify where it really stems from. And then at a certain point, I have to release control. I have to say, you know what, this is not in my hands. I am good at what I do. I've practiced. I've put in so much time, energy, blood, sweat, and tears into my art. I gotta let it go. And I think for me, anxiety just comes from like overthinking like so many little things. And it's so easy to get caught up in the details. So that's why earlier on I said, focus on one thing. When you asked me like what is important to succeed in business, in the creative business, I really think it's focus on one thing, because if you just overwhelm yourself with so many ideas and so many things you want to do, for sure you'll get overwhelmed. And for me, that turns into anxiety, and then it's analysis paralysis, and I'm stuck in bed crying all morning, like, and wasting time thinking, oh, I should be doing so many more things, and it's a dangerous place to get stuck in.
Welcome to the Amani Experience Podcast. In this podcast, you will experience wisdom, advice, and stories from creatives all over the world. Your host is Amani Roberts, who is a DJ, music producer, professor, avid book reader, and developing salsa dancer. On the show, we love to share the stories of creative professionals, especially people who've gone from the corporate life to the creative life. Once again, welcome to the Amani Experience Podcast.
Welcome to episode 13 of the Amani Experience Podcast. Today we are talking to Jessica Louise. My favorite part about the episode was just how open and honest Jessica was about how she deals with her anxiety. And then she also explained what busking taught her and how it taught her about resilience. Those are my favorite parts of the interview. Leave me a comment. Let me know what your favorite parts of the interview are. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes and rate the podcast very highly if you like. I appreciate it. And let's get to the show. Thank you. Welcome back to the show. I'm going to read our today's guest's bio, and then I'll introduce her, and we will get to the show. So today's guest, after a successfully funded Indiegogo campaign, Long Beach native indie R&B singer-songwriter, she has gone on to release her debut EP Voices, which is a blend of soaring and smooth vocal performances with production inspired by contemporary R&B and soul legends Jhené Aiko and Amy Winehouse. She transitioned from the theater world into the music scene in May of 2015 and has since discovered much success through the live streaming platform Periscope, amassing over 5 million hearts and growing. Her favorite aspect of music is the ability to tell a story and share an experience through her performance. We would like to welcome Jessica Louise to the Amani Experience Podcast. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you for being with us. So as we start, we like to do a little geographic check-in. So let all the listeners know where you are right now.
So I am here in the Maldives, which is kind of a crazy story in it of itself. I've been here for about 3 weeks now. Very exciting, very, very different from Los Angeles. I'm still kind of getting used to the island life, but that's where I am in the world.
Cool. What brought you to the Maldives?
It was really great. I actually have a residency out here, so I booked a contract to sing here for the next 3 months. Every single day, everything is taken care of, room, board, food, and I get to sing every single night. So it's kind of the perfect, like a dream come true, really.
Nice. I want to get that. I want to get that booking too for me. Hook it up.
You gotta come. Just come visit. It's so beautiful over here.
For sure. Now you're born and raised in Long Beach, correct?
Yeah, actually in a smaller suburb next to Long Beach called Lakewood. I always just say Long Beach because no one ever knows what Lakewood is, but if anyone listening knows where Lakewood is, shout out to you. It's in Los Angeles County.
Good. Okay. And then you're 3 months in the Maldives. Mm-hmm. Nice. Enjoy that.
Thank you.
On the Amani Experience podcast, we love to talk to people who've gone from the corporate life to the creative life. And so I know you had a quick experience with the corporate life. You used to work in restaurants, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Very much so.
So you worked in restaurants, and tell us why you decided to go full time into your music.
Well, so I come from a lot of service background, like not just restaurants, I guess. Like, I also did like event planning a little bit, and I would like do even like party performances. It just wasn't what I wanted in my life. I think I always knew that I was just something that kind of helped me get by while I pursued music on the side. And after about like 5 years of that, I was just like, I'm not getting any younger. I got to do this now, you know? And I'd always done it on the side, and I'd felt like I'd written enough songs and really gotten to know myself as an artist that I could make the leap into doing this full time. And I think ever since I cut the cord, you know, like cold turkey, and I just made the leap, it very slowly, I will say, it was very hard in the beginning, but very slowly it worked out. And I mean, I'm here in the Maldives now, so I don't think it gets any better than this.
I would agree. You're doing all right there. How did you get the courage to cut the cord, as you say?
Oh, I don't know if anything can prepare you for that like leap. It really is like standing on the edge of a cliff and like just just falling and just finding something. I think it was just something within myself. I had thought, okay, well, I can keep living like this, and I can keep, you know, working side jobs and just like leaving my music on the side and kind of hoping it like builds up traction, or I could just cut the cord, fall on my booty a few times. Sorry, I don't know if I can say booty.
You can say whatever you want to say. No worries.
You know, just fall flat on my face a couple times and just learn from that. You know, I felt like I was wasting time doing things that weren't important to me, which was, you know, working at a restaurant or anything like that. And so I think it's actually, and now that I look back, I think it's less courageous to stay in the job. Like if your heart's not in it, like I don't even think it takes courage at that point. You just kind of realize like what you really want for yourself and for your life. And at that point you're just like, I'm gonna go, and you fly off, and then life starts to happen.
Cool. And when you did fall on your quote unquote booty, what did you do to kind of get back up and keep going? How did you do that? That's
such a funny question. I feel like I fall on my booty like every day, like, or, you know, like, as an artist, as a songwriter in particular, it's really hard to even just like gauge successes and failures and what that looks like for me, but what that looks like from an outsider or anything like that. So it's definitely a constant, like, pick yourself back up when things don't really go the way that they plan. And whenever I fall, I usually just recenter myself. And I really think about what the end result is and what I really want for myself and for my life. And I kind of block out what I think other people want me to do or what what I think is expected of me. And I think when you refocus on your purpose, and when it's not about you, when it's about, like inspiring other people, or whether it's whatever your specific purpose is, it becomes much easier to get back up from however bad the fall was.
Okay. And then based on your experience, what do you think is important for creative professionals to succeed in today's business environment?
What I have found is especially in the creative industry, a lot of me and my friends, my peers, I've noticed, we all want to do like so many things all at once. We want everything to come to us all at once. We don't want to wait for it. We don't want to put in the hard work. But I think probably the most important thing to succeed is to take things one step at a time and really focus and hone in on your creative craft, whatever it is. Because you can be really good at something, but people won't start paying attention and you won't start succeeding until I think you really mastered it or you're really great at it. And then it just becomes easier at that point.
All right. And then since you left and went and kind of cut the cord, when do you feel was the turning point in your career?
Okay, I know exactly this moment because I was like staring at my computer, and it was right when I was about to launch my crowdfunding campaign. So I crowdfunded on this platform called Indiegogo. It's very much like Kickstarter for anybody who doesn't know what Indiegogo is. And I sat there and I looked at my computer and I said, okay, once I push this button, this is it. It's like there's no going back. Because at that point, once I launched the crowdfunding campaign, people were going to start paying money into this. And then I couldn't go back on my word, it would just be a mess. And I remember the exact moment because it literally felt like I was standing on the edge of a cliff. And I've actually done cliff jumping before. And so I was like, oh my God, this feels exactly like that time I jumped off the 50-foot cliff in the forest. And that was the exact moment. And I haven't looked back since.
Cool. And what was it about starting that campaign, clicking the go button, that why was that the turning point?
That was the turning point because I don't think you can go back from a crowdfunding campaign. I think personally where I was in my life, I guess I'm just going to put this out there. I just got dumped. All this bad stuff was happening in my life, and I knew I needed to do something to just completely change everything. And then 2, I think the nature of it being a crowdfunding campaign, if you push go on that, suddenly people are now giving you money to pursue your dreams. It's almost like people are holding you accountable and they're waiting for the product, and they're like, yes, you can do this. They support you. And I think once you put something out there like that, you can't really come back from that.
Right. All right. But, kind of sidebar, because of the fact that you got dumped, didn't that give you more material to write your own music?
It totally did. But it's so funny because a lot of the songs that I wrote before, I put the crowdfunding campaign together, they were all love songs because and then I got dumped, and then I was like, well, I'm not going to not put these songs out because they're still great. But yes, a heartbreak is just fantastic for creativeness. I mean, it's horrible, personally, but it is a great, what do you call it? Just a fuse, just lights a match under you.
A spark, a creative spark.
Yes, a spark. That's a great word.
Yes, definitely. Adele can attest to this. You hear her albums, she went through some things. And I know you're a fan of Adele too, correct?
Yes, very much so.
Yeah, that's why I said that. Cool. Why do you love what you do?
I love everything about music. It is one of the universal languages, and I've seen this time and time again in every single time I perform and every time I put a new record out. See, I heard some music in the background.
Yeah.
It's just everywhere. And for me to be able to create music and create a space where people can come in, watch me, and be enlightened, I've seen it so many times where I'll just be singing. I used to busk a lot, which is play on the streets, which is really like the toughest stuff. I mean, you like develop a crazy backbone when you do this kind of work. So you're just there for hours, and sometimes people stop, sometimes they don't. But you never know who you're going to affect at any one certain moment. I think that is the power of music. And it's amazing that I get to see it over here on the other side of the world. And every other day, I meet people from Russia, China, Indonesia, Japan, India, like literally from all over the world. And music is the one thing that will bring them together in the same room. Well, that and food.
Yes. Food and music.
Yes.
All right. Who are some of your favorite musicians growing up?
I really loved Lauryn Hill and Alicia Keys. So a lot of I noticed this later in life. A lot of the artists that I loved, I felt like were a lot of the artists that allowed themselves to be vulnerable, and that they were very authentic to themselves, and they wrote these songs that were just an extension of themselves. And I think, that's what I gravitate towards, just the realness of it all. But then again, I also really love the bubblegum pop stuff, like Christina and like Britney. But I definitely connected more with a lot of the soul singers.
Right. And so what do you do when you're writing your music and singing to show your vulnerability?
So I practice writing every day outside of songwriting. Typically we'll do some self-reflective journaling. And then I just, as much as I can, try to connect with who I am and what I want to say. With songwriting and with being an artist and with being a business, woman, and what tends to happen is you think so much about your brand, and you're like, oh, well, I want to write a song that's going to sell, or I want to write a song that's like this, or I want to write a song for this artist in mind. And it's very easy to lose sight of what's really authentic to you. And I think that happened to me about a year ago. And since then, I just, every day, as much as I can, I connect with myself through journaling and through writing outside of songwriting, so that when I go into a session, it's just, I don't even have to think about it. And this is just what was on my mind. And then you kind of tweak it from there.
Cool. How long have you been practicing that kind of habit?
About a year now. I think it developed after I just had some writer's block. I just didn't know what to write about. And I realized it wasn't that I didn't know what to write about. It was that I was too afraid to write about the things I really wanted to write about.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. And then this journaling, this helped you get over the fear.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
That's fascinating. We'll have to get back to that. That's interesting. Wow.
Yeah, you should try it. I think everyone should journal, to be honest. I think it's just, you don't really know what's inside in your mind until you put it out on paper into the world.
True. I try to journal for 10 minutes every morning, most mornings.
Really?
So yeah, I've been doing that since March. We're now in November. So we're 8 months in. So far, so good.
That's amazing. And you really committed to it. You're able to do it every day.
Sometimes I have a gig, like a DJ gig really late at night, so I might miss it, or I'm traveling. It's a little bit tougher, but I'm working on that too. But yeah, that's so far that's like a new habit that I've established that's working well. So I'm on board.
Yeah.
Right. So going back, what was the term you used to describe when you would play on the street? You said busk. Is that what it was called?
Yes, busking. Mm-hmm.
Busking. So how did busking help you, kind of grow as an artist?
Oh my gosh. If anyone wants to grow as an artist, go do it on the streets. Because that is just, it's like a warfare sometimes. And especially, like highly populated places like the 3rd Street Promenade in Santa Monica, or that's just like the biggest example of where all the buskers go. You are not guaranteed anything, right? You go out there, you bare your soul, and you hope that one person will stop, maybe give you $1. You're not sure. The first time I did it, I think I made like $3 because I asked my friend to come help me, and I bought her dinner, so I had to pay for her dinner. So I made, I think I was very close to losing money. It just, I think what it helped me answer this one question. And the question was, what are you willing to do if nobody claps? Or if nobody stops and pays attention to you? What is it that you're willing to do? And I think I just found out that this was my way of being a master in my craft. And as much as I could, I wanted to practice in front of people. And to be honest, I was fairly successful. Like after maybe the first 2-3 times, I really got my niche down. I got my little, got my groove down. But also that whole experience taught me about persistence, perseverance, and determination. It really kind of beats you down and asks you, how bad do you want this? But it was something if you don't have a job, you kind of have to, if you don't have a corporate job or, a sort of stable job, you have to really get creative in ways for you to make money. And that was something I just had to do. But I'm super thankful for it. If I go out on the street now, it'll be I'll make a bunch, because you just get better and better as you go.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. So you said it taught you about persistence and perseverance. What did it teach you? It's fascinating.
Well, I think when you step into a space like that, it's not a show. It's not really, it's not a venue. There's nobody to help you set up your stuff. There's nobody to help you bring your gear. You really you just got to do it, get all your stuff, put your stuff together, set up, start singing, and hope that someone stops. To be able to go back to do that, consistently, or just however many times I did that. I mean, that definitely taught me some discipline and perseverance. Because why would you want to go back to that? In the beginning, it's just not a pleasant experience at all. I mean, I think what we dream for as artists is, a really nice venue, playing at the Staples Center or the Hollywood Bowl, right? That's the end goal. And so to quit your stable job and then dream of that, but then perform on the street where people don't really pay attention to you, that'll knock you down a couple times. And I think at that point you have to decide whether you want to keep going or if you want to quit.
Exactly. How long did you busk?
I did it off and on, for about the first year that when I quit my job. So I quit my job. And then, for about like the first year, it was a series of busking on the street, picking up a lot of like wedding gigs, birthdays, really like anything, any sort of gig I could get. I just said yes. And, which is exhausting, by the way. I actually don't recommend doing that. I'm sure you know. I'm sure you know.
Yes. Yes, I do. You're preaching to the choir here.
But I guess in the beginning, you're just like, I gotta do it.
Yeah. Gotta get experience.
Exactly. And, gosh, I forgot what the question was. I'm sorry.
Well, no, it's just like, so like you were busking for years. So how long has it been since you quit your job?
2015. Was it 2015? 2 years. Mm-hmm.
So it's been 2 years. Your first year off and on, you were busking. You were doing wedding gigs, any kind of gigs that, somebody needed a singer, you were there. Mm-hmm. And then you look up and less than 3 years later, and you got booked to work in the Maldives. So that's pretty quick, actually, because a lot of times it takes people like 5, 7, 10 years to really get to where you are. So you've had some pretty not quick success because you work hard, but you've had some pretty good indicators that you're on the right path.
Yeah, I guess so. When you put it like that, I guess so. It really is all about perspective. Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, you're working hard, and people, when you work hard, you get rewarded as long as you stick with it.
I definitely believe that.
And then kind of, making a nice transition, when you're looking at your life, your career, what is something that scares you?
Oh, man. So many things. As I'm going to be very open about this. As someone that deals with anxiety, almost every single day, so there's just so many things that absolutely terrify me. Before, I think I kind of got over this, but before, every day was like, I'm not going to have enough time. I'm going to be too old by the time I make it. Like, no one's going to want to listen to me. And what if I never make it? What if like all I ever end up doing is playing on the streets? That was a real fear of mine. Or what if I put something out and nobody listens to it? Or what if when I put it out, nobody likes it? And all of these fears of things that I could not control. I can't control how other people perceive me and my work. And I guess I'm just going to keep going on that topic. Because I have to say how I overcame that, because I think it's really important. I think a lot of artists have this fear of, oh my gosh, what if I'm just not good enough? Like, I quit my job. Now what happens if I suck? Oh gosh. And I think it's not really up to us. Like, I can't control how people look at my work, what people think about me. All I can control is what the art that I make. Is it authentic? Is it vulnerable? Is it, an extension of myself? And if I do that, then I'm happy. Then I'm not anxious about, oh my God, what if they don't like it? It gets difficult when your art is directly correlated to the money you have in your bank account. I think that's where it can get really scary, which is where I was a couple of months ago when I wasn't selling anything. I wasn't selling, my music wasn't moving. Like, I wasn't booking any song placements or anything. And I just thought, man, I suck. Like, I'm just not a good singer. I'm not a good artist. And I was engulfed in the fear. Oh my God, like this bubble of like self-doubt and hatred just all around me. And it's a very not a good space to work from. It's It's not a good space to operate from. It's bad for just everything, your soul, spirit, your business. I think when you realize that you can't control how people feel about you or anything, you can just control who you are as a person, who you are as a business person, as an artist. And if you're happy with that, then I actually think that the universe will then bring you everything that you needed and everything that you wanted and were hoping for. Oh God, does that make sense? I hope so.
It made sense. And kind of keep going with like, how do you still, because anxiety is a huge issue for many, many people inside the creative world and outside the creative world, but maybe specifically for inside the creative world, because, I experience it as well. It's hard. Mm-hmm. How do you work through your anxiety and kind of manage it and make it so has less of an effect on your everyday life?
This is such a good question. Because this is so very prevalent to me. Like even now, like in the most beautiful place in the world, and I'm still anxious. And it's an island. Like this is not the city where everyone's like on your booty, like to do this. This is an island where everyone's like super chill, and I'm still anxious. Like what's wrong with me? But it is a serious thing, and I think what I do is I try to determine where it stems from. And it's usually from either a place of me not feeling like I'm good enough or feeling inadequate in any sort. Oh, I'm not beautiful enough. Oh, I don't sing this good. Oh, I'm not as good as the person who was singing here before. Or, oh, people don't like me. I think I try to identify where it really stems from. And then at a certain point, I have to release control. I have to say, you know what, this is not in my hands. I am good at what I do. I've practiced. I've put in so much time, energy, blood, sweat, and tears into my art. I gotta let it go. And I think for me, anxiety just comes from like overthinking like so many little things. And it's so easy to get caught up in the details. So that's why earlier on I said, focus on one thing. When you asked me like, what is important to succeed in business, in the creative person business,
yes.
I really think it's focus on one thing, because if you just overwhelm yourself with so many ideas and so many things you want to do, for sure you'll get overwhelmed. And for me, that turns into anxiety, and then it's analysis paralysis, and I'm stuck in bed crying all morning, like, and wasting time thinking, oh, I should be doing so many more things. And it's a dangerous place to get stuck in. But once you I think realize that you're doing that, you face it full on, and you just let it go, like Frozen, let it go.
All right. We'll kind of continue those rabbit hole for a minute. How has a failure or an apparent failure set you up for later success? Do you have a favorite failure of yours?
So lots of failures. I think one of the hardest failures was, failure to me anyways, was not making the amount of money that I thought I was going to make in music when I quit my job, or not making enough money, period. It was coming from like having a stable job and, having X amount of money and being able to then fund my music through this source of income, to having none of that at all and working on the street. Like, oh God, that sounds so bad. Playing music on the street and busking, doing weddings, doing all these things that I didn't really love doing. And then not having enough money to do the things I really want to do. It just made no sense. I was like, why did I quit my job to do more things that like just didn't make any sense? I think and just not having enough money and getting into a little bit of debt. That was I consider that a failure. And what that made me realize was I just needed to find other ways to feel fulfilled in my art and make enough money doing so. And so I sat down and I made a list of the things that I love to do and that I hated doing. And I stopped accepting gigs that I just knew would make me miserable. And it was because of that I developed a better clientele. I was booking higher paying gigs with like really awesome clients. And then I somehow like saved way more money. I was able to go back into the studio and start writing new songs, which I'm in the process of right now. By the way, I know I'm in the Maldives, but I've been working remotely with some of the producers, and I was working with them before I left. That failure helped me realign my priorities and also just helped me realize what it was that I really wanted. And I think it worked out. Again, I'm now here in the Maldives. So.
I would say it's worked out. That's a great example because, and I can relate because many times you get scared. I can't turn away these gigs because I need to get money because I have to support myself. So how did you get through that? Because that's tough. Like you're being more selective, which means you could have less gigs. Of course, in the long run, they'll be better. But in the short run, you're like, ooh, I don't know if I'm going to be able to pay my bills. Like it's a little bit tight. Like how did you get through that fear?
I just did it. I said, I can't be miserable anymore. I quit my job so that I could be happier. But now I am more miserable and I have no money. So that was like so much worse. And I was like, well, I can't get any worse from this. So let me just focus on what makes me happy. And so I just did it. Like, I think that's the thing is everybody has so much fear. It's just, are you going to let it stop you, or are you just going to do what you need to do? And I think that's a big turning point for everybody in their lives. Like literally everybody has fear. The only difference with people who like make the leap or not is if they're willing to just overcome the fear or if they let the fear overcome them.
Yes. Amen. Well said. That deserves a pregnant pause. Well said. In your industry, being a singer, there's a ton, numerous singers. How do you rise above all of the noise, competition, and distinguish yourself?
I don't know. You tell me. No, I'm just kidding. There are so many singers. There's so many singing shows. There's so many singers on Instagram. There's so many things on YouTube. What I have found is to find a niche and find a community. So I started using this app called Periscope, and I literally started using it right when it first started. So I think maybe like it'd been out for 2-3 weeks and I was on it. It just so happened someone showed it to me. And this also just so happens to be around the time that I started the crowdfunding campaign. And so all these things were happening at once. And it was through there that I was able to develop this super strong community that to this day are like, they have my back. And we're like best friends now. And we like send each other Christmas gifts and like birthday gifts and birthday cards and stuff. And it's the best. And I think that you need to find that community. And when it comes to finding this community, it's quality over quantity. Because you can have a million Instagram followers, but, you know, are people actually listening to your music? Are people actually buying your music? Do people actually, you know, believe in you? Yeah, and then also finding a niche. So earlier on, I was doing a lot of like singer songwriter stuff, which is not a niche, like everybody does that. And so, in my more like recent songwriting discoveries, I've kind of been playing around with this new sort of jazzy R&B, um, like this kind of new genre that's coming about. I like to call it alternative R&B. Um, and so that's like
Okay.
a niche that I've kind of been playing into and just kind of checking out. And the thing is, these niches have like super strong communities. So like, and gosh, I just see it coming up, and I see all the same people and all these like artists that I'm good friends with are all coming up together. So those two things, community and finding your niche.
Yeah, definitely. Props on using periscopes. That was a great way to spread the word. So props to you.
Thank you.
Well done. What's an example of some alternative R&B artists that people might hear on the radio or out now?
So Rihanna's new stuff is kind of like the forefront.
Okay.
If you know who SZA is, she's really big.
Yes.
Daniel Caesar, he's
Got him.
oh good. Oh my god, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Even like Kaylani, she's pretty big too. This girl, her name is Her. She's amazing, really great vocalist. The cool thing is all these people are awesome vocalists too. It's like the singers are coming back. For a while it was like this like bubblegum, like auto-tuned. You know what I mean? And now it's like the real singers are coming back. I'm like, oh yes, I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Like I am an R&B guy. So just so you know, like I grew up like, Luther Vandross, Mariah Carey, Mint Condition, like, I'm an R&B guy through and through. So I know who you're talking about and I like them as well. So it's time to come back. One question I always ask people is that, let's see, I'm not sure how old you are, but say in like the 90s, there was a ton of R&B groups. Like you had like Jodeci, Boys to Men, Mint Condition, SWV. You had 702, like lots of groups, 112. But where are they now?
That's a really good question.
I'm going to have to write a blog on that. I keep saying I'm going to, for real.
Yeah, you have to, because that's such a good question. Yeah, where are they?
They're not around. So it's just, and then R&B, let's see here, let me see how to say this. Like, it's very, very hard to write a ballad that makes you feel something. Those are kind of becoming an endangered species. So I would love to see, I would love to see that come back as well.
Oh my gosh, you are preaching to the choir. I have to write this blog. I will share it.
For sure, I'm on it. But let me get off my soapbox because we could go down this rabbit hole for hours. Because I've just been looking and researching. I just don't get it.
I know.
So let's see.
I have to play you some of my new stuff I'm working on. See what you think about it.
All right. Definitely, and I try to play. Funny thing, when I DJ, most people want to dance and do all that. But I always, in all my sets, especially when I'm at a club, I'll always close it off with like 2 or 3 slow jams just because I can.
Yes. I love that.
All right. So let's see here. So tell us kind of, how do you handle your critics? Because you've kind of spoken about kind of getting through fear and anxiety. The next step is, how do you handle your critics? Now that you've had some success, they're going to have some haters. Mm-hmm. How do you handle your haters?
Yeah, they're awesome. Haters are great. I feel like once you have haters, you know that you're doing something big because you're doing something worth hating, I guess. I'm really great when it comes to trolls and all that. For some reason, it doesn't really affect me. And I think because my biggest critic is myself. And so once I was able to kind of get over my biggest critic, anyone else who says anything, I'm like, all right, then don't listen to me. Like, I'm sorry. Am I hurting you? Am I offending you? No. All right, then we're good. Just keep doing your thing. But yeah, people are always gonna say weird things about you. I don't even know how they come up with half the stuff sometimes.
Right.
But I don't think it's necessarily a reflection of myself. I think it's more of a reflection of them and whatever provoked them to say that. So for some reason, none of that phases me. Isn't that funny? But what phases me most is myself. Like, it's ridiculous.
Yes. I just read this book. It's a fiction story, but it talked about kind of how your internal mind can drive you crazy. It was called Turtles All the Way Down. And so if you're familiar with the author John Green, he wrote The Fault in Our Stars. And this is his new book. And I just finished reading on the plane last night. And the way he talks from a female's perspective when she was going through this was amazing. Like, he nailed it.
Oh, I'm going to get this like tomorrow. I actually needed a new book to read. I just finished my last one.
Yes. So if you like that, the way I need to read it again, because he really did a great job of just kind of signifying and sharing what it would be like. I'm sure it's even intense, but he did it well. So you just reminded me of that.
Okay, I need to get this book like tomorrow.
Yes, Turtles All the Way Down. I'll put it in the show notes, and then get it. So there's one kind of final question. We talk about kind of tough times, then we get to some more happier stuff. But it's always good to talk about the tough times because that's when we learn the most. So tell us about the darkest time in your life, how you got through that, and what did you learn from that experience?
So I would have to say that was a couple months ago for me, or almost a year ago. I remember it was like right around Christmas. And it was really hard because I was thinking, how am I going to afford to buy Christmas gifts for my family and do all the stuff that I want to do? And my music isn't moving and I have writer's block. It's kind of some of the stuff that I touched on earlier when I was talking about my biggest failure. It's probably the toughest. I mean, outside of being dumped, like, this was probably, the toughest. What I did to get out of it, again, I just restructured my life and I started really focusing on the things that made me happy. And I actually even ended up discarding like material things. And I really I tried to just get rid of everything that didn't serve me, didn't serve my purpose. And all of that combined, things just started working out. And I was happier and I was booking better gigs again. I know I said that earlier, but that's how I ended up getting out of the dark times.
Cool. All right. And then growing up, who was the most influential person for you?
It's definitely my mom. I miss her so much. I've only been gone for like 3 weeks, and I'm like, I call every day. I'm like, I'm so homesick. I miss you. She immigrated. Both her and my dad immigrated here from the Philippines, and they were both very young when they had me, and I don't think they were new to the country. They all of a sudden had a kid and they made it work, and they stuck it out. They're still together. It was really tough growing up. And I saw both my mom and my dad really struggle, work several jobs at a time, like work odd hours. I think, as a kid growing up, I never took anything for granted, when I saw that. And I really learned hard work and dedication from them. I was just talking to my mom the other day and she was like, it's never been easy for us, like, but we work hard and we get through it. And I'm really happy to have her support me in the career path that I've chosen. Because most Asian parents don't really are not really for that, and it was definitely I had to convince them that I was going to be okay in this career path, because definitely when I was like struggling, they could see it and they could feel it, and they definitely had their 2 cents, and I overcame all of it. But I am really thankful that they both support me very much so. And, they are my role models.
Cool. All right. So I know a true gentleman's not supposed to ask a young lady's age, but for this question, I have to kind of ask you. How old are you right now?
I'm 26.
All right. So if we're going to roll the clock back 5 years from now, and if you could sit down with 21-year-old Jessica Louise and share some advice, what would you share?
I would tell her that you don't have to be perfect, and you don't have to prove yourself to anybody, and stop killing yourself trying to be the best, and stop comparing yourself to everybody else, and just focus on one thing at a time, and start now. or I would say you should have started like 5 years ago. Which actually I did. I mean, I started songwriting at a very young age, but I didn't like really take it seriously until right at the end of college, which was right around the time that I was 21. That's what I would tell her. And just you don't have to be perfect. Focus on one thing. Don't try to do everything, because you can't save the world.
This is true. Okay, now this is one of my favorite Oprah questions that I got from Oprah. I love this question. What is the one lesson in life that took you the longest to learn?
That is a really good question. To love myself unconditionally. And I think this is still like an ongoing battle, especially for someone who deals with anxiety and like has self-doubt. But sometimes it's a tough lesson to learn, to really love yourself. So I love others easily. Like I love my family. I'll do anything for them. But when it comes to me, I would never take time for myself before. I would never do, I would never praise myself unless I was like so sure that I was like the best at something. And I think you can still learn that lesson more and more so. But that would be.
Okay. And besides kind of praising yourself, what else do you do to kind of practice self-love?
The journaling definitely helps. Also, what really helps is when I take a day off and I like just do whatever it is that I feel like doing. I'll go and grab lunch or dinner by myself, and I'll go get a massage and just be okay with wherever I am in my life. Yeah, and then I'm not so hard on myself, really, because what happens is I found that it actually manifests physically. When I was really hard on myself before, I would actually lose my voice constantly. And then I would hate myself for losing my voice. And then it would be that vicious cycle. So yeah, I take myself out on dates. That's it. It's great.
Very
Everyone
good.
should do it.
All right. I agree. Well said. Every person has a sentence. Every great person has a sentence. What is your sentence? So, for example, for me, my sentence would be, I help people pursue their dreams by teaching them how to DJ.
I would say my sentence would be something like, I want to bring people together in the name of love through the universal language of music.
All right. Well said. Nice work.
Thank you.
All right. You talked about journaling. Is there another new habit that you've added to your daily routine in the past year or so that's been very beneficial?
I do one thing a day, just one. I pick one and I do it. That's so helped, and I have to stop myself from making these like huge to-do lists because that's just the nature of who I am. I love to make lists. I do. I do one thing a day. I do yoga. That's also really, really wonderful. And I want to say that I eat vegetables, but that's an ongoing battle right there.
Right. Got to get your greens.
I know.
Yes.
I'll develop that habit in time.
All right. So by the time I interview again, you'll have that habit down.
Exactly. I'll be vegan or something. No, I'm just kidding.
You say I still like my meat. Cool. And you say you do one thing a day. That means you say you have a list of like, you have to write a couple songs, you have to re-sing some things, you have to like go on social media and do something. You'll pick one of those a day and just do that.
Yes. And then typically I'll finish that early on unless it's like a really daunting task. I'll finish it early on in the day, and then, if that's the case, then I will rest or I'll like relax or do something that I enjoy for a little bit. And then I'll go revisit the list again and say, okay, maybe I can do this too. Or maybe I'll post something schedule my posts on Instagram. But yeah, one thing a day. You know what I actually heard? That there's this new habit, this technique. I don't remember the technique is called, but I'm going to start it actually tomorrow. But you do like whatever it is that you want to like form as a habit, you do it for like 1 minute every day, whatever it is. So it's like you want to practice guitar, you just practice for 60 seconds. Chances are it'll turn into something like, All
right.
I don't know. That was such a tangent, but I just wanted to throw that out there.
That's all right. We love tangents. No worries. No worries. We're also very big readers. We love books here on the Money Experience podcast. So if there was one or two or three books that you feel people should stop what they're doing right now and go buy it and start reading it right away, what books would you recommend?
Okay, so if you've related to some of my like struggle with anxiety and stuff like that, there's a book that I'm not allowed to say the entire title of. I think you might know this book. It's called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Blank.
Yeah.
And that's a fantastic book. It's really great. Just get out of your head, just do it. Another one was, a lot of people have read this book, but in case you haven't yet, it's called oh gosh, why is this leaving me now? Oh my gosh! It's KonMari. It's the KonMari book. Oh my gosh, the Art of Tidying Up. It's like
oh yes, Marie Kondo.
Yeah.
Yes, the magical art of tidying up. Yes.
Mm-hmm. The life-changing magic of tidying up. That's it. That definitely changed my life. And it helped me. That was when I discarded all of my things. Fantastic book. And then my most recent one that I just read is called 101 Essays That Will Change the Way You Think. Thought Catalog actually published it. I like the Thought Catalog, and I like what they put out. It's a book that has a lot of lists in it. So if you're like me and you like lists, you'll probably love this book. And it has also some really great, just like points to start journaling from. So like writing prompts, not intentionally, but if you read this book, you can't help but self-reflect. So it's a really great read.
Good. 3 great suggestions. Thank you. All right, so we're almost done. Have a couple more questions, but before we kind of get to the home stretch here, tell people how they can find you online, where they can find your music, all that jazz, quote unquote, pun on words.
Oh, hey. So I am available. My music is available everywhere: iTunes, Spotify, Apple Music, SoundCloud, YouTube, you name it. You can just find it under Jessica Louise, Louise. It's Jessica Louise. And on Instagram, it's Jessica Louise Music. So it's pretty easy to remember. And if you like Periscope, I actually just started broadcasting every day here in the Maldives. It's on Periscope. It's a little different because it's my old Twitter handle that I just kept. So it's actually Jessica_Louise. But can we tag it somewhere? Maybe. Okay.
Oh yeah,
okay.
Yeah. It'll be in the show notes. Don't worry.
Perfect. So everyone can get the correct spelling. But that's me. That's where you can find me.
Great. Okay, and then is there anything else fun, interesting, or important that maybe I failed to ask or we didn't talk about?
I think we covered everything. Almost everything.
We covered a lot.
We did.
Yeah,
I talk a lot. I'm sorry.
Cool. No worries. No, it was great. So it's been a pleasure interviewing you. As we go, I love to ask the guests, is there any advice or wisdom that you like to share with the listeners as we kind of head to our break?
Honestly, you got this. Don't overthink it. And if you were feeling afraid to take a leap, don't. I hope you listen to this and feel encouraged to just take a risk. And whether it pays off or not, you'll be thankful that you took the risk. So, and chances are it'll work out. So just do it. Yeah.
Good. Amen. All right. Well, thank you very much for being on the show. We'll be in touch, and definitely when you get back to LA, we have to meet up, and I want to hear you live and all that jazz. So.
I'd love to come out.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you for listening to the Amani Experience podcast. You can check out the show notes on amaniexperience.com/podcast. Please remember to leave us a review on the platform you are listening on, and share this podcast with anyone who you feel would benefit from listening. See you soon on our next episode.